It's not
Or
gonna
where are
get
you
your legs
putting
or
this on?
hands.
You have a YouTube channel?
What's that?
You have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, Choose a Better Story.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple.
I've never done a podcast where I was actually on camera before.
Are you okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
A better life, better vision, what you wanting? Let's make it happen. Time to choose the better story. Come on. Choose the better story. Hey, choose the better story. Yeah.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Choose the Better Story, a podcast about vision, mindset, performance, and purpose. And our goal is to help you rewrite the narrative for the future you really, really want, and you get to be the hero of the story. I'm really excited. I've got an amazing guest with us this morning, Casey Taylor, and she comes with lots of accolades. I'm just going to read these out loud so you can kind of get an understanding of like the superwoman that I'm talking to right now, so you can enter in, ground yourself into getting some value and some wisdom from Casey this morning. So here's a few things that Casey's a part of. She's the founder and superintendent of Achieve Charter Schools. She's on the board of Rebuild Paradise Foundation. She's on the board for After the Fire USA. And she's on the board of California Charter School Association. Yep. Wow, that is a lot that you're a part of. Why don't we start with this? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing and what's unique about your childhood.
Well, I do love telling this story. Sometimes I rush through it and then I'll have people say like, slow down, because that's a good story. I love Paradise so much with all of my heart, and it's because of my upbringing there. So I was born in Paradise, went to Paradise Preschool. Did you go to Paradise Preschool?
I did. Yep.
And then our kids went to Paradise Preschool.
Of course.
Yep. I went to St. Thomas More, the Catholic school in Paradise. My parents, we were not Catholic, but they for some reason thought that the private school was going to be a better education. So they sent my sisters and I there. I love the Catholics. It was an amazing time to grow up with Catholic tradition and then also being Protestant. Okay. So we got that beautiful mix of liturgy and a sense of holiness, right, when you walked into the Catholic Church. So you didn't get so much in a Protestant church environment. But the Catholics have a real focus on the needy and caring for the poor. And so they just threw the net out wide. And there were a lot of kids in that school who were in difficult situations growing up. And then over my course being at St. Thomas More, I had a dad in and out of jail on drugs. His cabinet business went bankrupt. And we weren't Catholic. And the scholarships were for the Catholics. But something happened. I know we weren't paying tuition and nobody sent us away. Yeah. And the message that was happening there at St. Thomas More was, you were created with unique gifts and talents, and you have a responsibility to use those in your community to make the world a better place.
Let's go.
And even if your dad is in jail or your electricity got turned off, it doesn't matter. We have high expectations for you to be who you are created to be, and we're going to support you all the way through it. And so that just instilled in my sister and I was just life-changing for us. Sure. So I went to Paradise Intermediate School after that because St. Thomas More closed their junior high down. And I can remember the first day of junior high, I got to ride the bus and like, oh, look at all these boys. This is amazing. But then I noticed that the kids there had no sense of purpose. Right? They didn't feel a sense of responsibility to make the world a better place. They were goofing off. They were mean. And I was just like, how sad for you all. Kids who are in much better home situations than me, but I felt like the blessed one to have had that opportunity. And so as a 12-year-old, I purposed in my heart that I wanted to become a teacher and go back and teach at St. Thomas More because it was changing lives of kids. Yeah. And growing up too, I was the one where the Christmas presents were not under the tree. They were outside the door, had been dropped off by somebody, right? Like that growing up. And so I felt this sense of love for the community and just always wanted to be in Paradise and give back to the community that raised me. Yeah. In high school, my sisters and I lived with a bunch of different families. Thank God for them. It just took us in and treated us like their own. And People paid for my cheerleading uniform. I got to cheer. Somebody paid for me to go on the senior trip. People were just like, the community was kicking in. And I'll jump ahead to my first day at a Paradise Rotary meeting. I was so nervous to be there. I walk in and I see Dr. Viali, the dentist who'd taken care of mine and my sister's teeth for free.
Wow.
Dr. Bob DePietro, who had given my sister glasses, right? Like, it's like, oh, here are the community members who invested in me as a kid growing up. And they were passing the hat around for something. And they're just pulling money out of their wallets, throwing it in the hat to buy Christmas presents for a kid like me. So it was like, oh, I've come full circle. How fabulous.
Sure. I have to pause real quick because there's some people that navigate life without a sense of gratitude. And I love the fact that you are grateful for people investing, especially in an impressionable time of your life. Like to see them later in your life and just know like, hey, these are the people that actually really made an impact in my upbringing. Well done. So way to be grateful for that.
Oh my goodness. And I was so honored to be in the room. Like, my whole life growing up, I was like, how do I get out of this situation where I'm not a charity case?
Sure.
Right? And so my coping mechanism was to, like, instead of looking at the circumstances where I was at, like, what would be the very best thing that could happen? And I'm just going to start taking steps towards that. And so it was maybe a coping mechanism, but also I think something in my heart, on purpose that I would use later that would help, through tragedies and all kinds of things.
Sure.
So I ended up at Westmont College, which was also a complete blessing. I had no reason. I should never have been there. I didn't pass their prerequisites. I couldn't pass biology. That first day in an English class, they're asking a question, everybody's hands up, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know at all. But anyways, I am thankful that I was there. I was able to graduate cum laude. So
there we go.
I know I was very proud. But went back and was able to get a teaching job at St. Thomas More. Not Catholic, but Catholic enough to teach kindergarten. So I was grateful for that. And here's the beautiful part about all that. Michelle John, the former superintendent for Paradise Unified, she was the kindergarten teacher at the time. And my mom was still the aide in kindergarten. And so even though I didn't get to live with her growing up, she was still aiding and working at St. Thomas More, living in the garage of a aunt of ours. But she was the aide in kindergarten, and I took that job. And so for 7 years, her and I got to teach together. It was just like this time given back to me and her. We were Miss Plank and Mrs. Plank, and she taught me how to teach. She ended up passing away of cancer, but I'm just like so grateful for that opportunity that I had with her to learn so much from her. But she was an incredible woman of faith, and really instilled a lot in me during that time. So then I was teaching at St. Thomas More, and then in 2005, St. Thomas More had to close their doors.
Why don't you just take a moment and tell us what you actually do for your career? It sounds like you got your hands on a lot of things, but what do you do, and why is that so important to you?
Oh my gosh. So I can just keep on talking. Like my childhood goes right into where I currently am sitting. So right now I'm the superintendent of Achieve Charter Schools. So we have 2 schools, but when we opened because the Catholic school that was serving so many needy kids in tough situations like me growing up had to close its doors because Paradise couldn't sustain a private school. We were down to 80 kids. Everybody was on a scholarship. And the former superintendent of Paradise Unified and Butte County Office of Ed, Gene Even, was sitting on the finance committee for St. Thomas More. And he came to us and said, we're closing St. Thomas More, but I have this friend who does this thing called charter schools. It's a public school. We should learn about it. You should get in the van and drive down to the Bay Area and go talk to Don Shalvey, my friend. Turns out Don Shalvey is the godfather of charter schools. He's founded Aspire Charter Schools across the state and in other states now. He's like, here's a thumb drive with our charter petition on it. Change the names. I give you 50-50 chance. Submit it to Paradise Unified and see what happens.
Oh, gosh.
Well, of course, we got denied. I had no idea what I was doing. And somehow I ended up as what's called the lead petitioner. So I'm the one who's in communication with the school district and like trying to rally the troops and raise money and do all of this stuff, which was just like landed in my lap. And of course we got denied. And then ended up raising money. It was Bob DiPietro, actually, who sat on the Paradise Unified Board, who came out and said, you raise a bunch of money, hire an attorney, rewrite this charter and get it open. The community needs it. And at that point, I was going to give up, right? Because I'm like, I have no business doing this. But those words that he's spoken to me that day were like, okay, I guess I have to. Went back. Our families at the school who had no money, and some other families too who wanted to be a part of something new. We raised $10,000 that day. We hired an attorney. They actually wrote the charter that was right, and then we got it approved.
Wow.
But
how long did that take? Was that a long process? Or?
It was way too quick.
Really?
Actually, it was March.
Kind of scary.
Completely scary, and I'll tell you why. We submitted for the first time March in 2005. Got denied, resubmitted again in July, got approved in August, had to open by like September 15th to get funding from the state. When we got approved, we were just like, oh, yes. And then it was like, oh, no, we don't know what we're doing. We have nothing. We have no furniture, books, copy machines, nothing. We weren't going to get our first check from the state until November. And we have teachers. Jean even from the church was also on the board of the Bank of Paradise, and they had said, we will give you a $100,000 loan at 12% if you get 100 kids to sign up. Wow. And we were like the first day of school, a couple of weeks before, like had like 95 kids. So we're all knocking on doors all around like, hey, we're starting this new thing. You want to come? But then we weren't going to be able to pay our teachers either. So my husband and I refinanced our house and invested $30,000 to get the school going. Investing in a nonprofit is not a good financial investment, but the investment that has come out of that is like, it's too overwhelming for me to even think about. I'm really grateful that he was willing to do that. At the time, it was like, we're investing in our kids and my career, but it has impacted just hundreds of families and kids over the years. So then we opened up Achieve, and it was just so much fun. And I was going to be the kindergarten teacher, but Jean even is like, no, you have to principal it. You've been leading this charge. You can't go back to the classroom. You got a principal. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. The first day of school, right? We have our morning assembly. Everybody goes to class, and I'm just in the office like, what do I do? Wait for the phone to ring? I don't know. But then I learned what to do. Yeah. And that was the best job in the whole wide world. And then we opened up a high school the year of the fire. And that pulled me out of the principalship in like a superintendent role to help support both schools. Yeah.
Just for context, because people might be listening that aren't aware of the fire. So what do you mean when you say the fire? What do you mean by that?
Oh, geez, Ryan. What do I mean by that? Well, this is a really interesting part of the story too. We'd worked so hard to open that high school. Families had asked. I wanted to do another elementary school. I'm a kindergarten teacher by trade. That's like my love. Yeah. When we added middle school, a couple of years after we opened, I was like, middle schoolers, very scary. But then I fell in love with them. And then the community is like, we need our kids to roll up into a high school modeled after Achieve elementary and junior high. So it was a 3-year labor of love. And in fact, so we opened that fall in 2018, and just a couple weeks before the fire, actually, our students were working with the town of Paradise. This is another part of the beautiful story about Paradise's rebuilding. They were talking about how could we make Paradise better? You as a kid, as high school kids, what do you need? And the town was doing all of this work, interviewing students and other nonprofits, and things like lighted sidewalks was coming up. How can it be walkable? What are some more things for kids to do? We need our utilities underground. We need a sewer system so that we can have more businesses. Right. So the town was already thinking about these things. Our kids had done this huge unit on it, and they were presenting their ideas to community leaders and Town of Paradise Council and staff. And then literally like the next week, the campfire rolled through Paradise and completely burned that whole high school that our kids had invested their own blood, sweat, and tears painting and landscaping and all of that, and just took our whole entire town out.
Yeah.
I mean, the story of like how Achieve came out of that and the doors that have opened for me and our community and our organization are just really incredible when we start talking about choosing the better story. It's that situation where you're just like buried under the heavy weight of sadness and loss and confusion and back to being a charity case again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, here I am where I said I would never be, but I am.
Yeah.
But
now you're in need again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm homeless.
Yeah.
Right? We've got nothing. And I'm at the mercy of other people to like take care of us and give us the stuff. And it's just like, oh, how can we be here again? Which is an interesting perception to share with the people in Altadena who have lost their homes and are very proud homeowners. 80% of the Black community in Altadena are homeowners. And that is generations of working hard to build and own their homes and passing them down. And for them to have lost
it
that
all. Yeah.
and feel like a charity case again is very emotional and super hard.
Sure.
And that's where I really feel so honored and blessed to be able to tell them, like, my motto since that fire is like, you have to look up. If you just keep looking down at the circumstances, it seems impossible. You'll just crumble under the weight of it.
Right.
But if you keep your eyes up, looking for the hope and the opportunities that are around the corner, you'll make it. You've got everything that you need inside of you to make it. So, like, buckle up, Buttercup.
You're a leader within the town. But like, what were some practical challenges that you tend to find yourself dealing with as a leader?
Oh, gosh. Social media is a real problem. I mean, it's a blessing and a problem. And you just find so many people think that they can actually solve the world's problems by having an argument about it on social media. And it's like, no. We solve problems and we meet in the middle through relationships. Yeah. So you gotta do everything you can. Relationship is everything.
Absolutely. Yep.
When I'll do workshops sometimes for charter school leaders on planning and prepping for a disaster or a crisis, like the first thing we talk about is make sure that you have solid relationships in your community, in the educational community, in your business community, with your community leadership, and then even in your next circle out. Your county and your state, make sure that you are connected with other people. And then that's where, you can argue all you want. You're not changing anybody's minds on social media. Yeah. You are opening your own mind and perception, listening to other people in relationship who are doing something different than you, that you know and love. You're doing that in relationship and in community. So I think that's one of the challenges, I think, of leadership. And then
it's always fun too. Like social media is so public, and people can be so thoughtless.
Yes.
In their comments, because not everybody does operate out of the context of relationships. So it's easy for them to like throw shade and throw mud in your direction. It's like, man, that's really hurtful that you would say, like, you're just trying to help the community and they're throwing shades. Like, what in the world?
I know. Or people who just are mad and hurt and angry. And so all they know to do is just be mad and hurt and angry and hurt other people. Yeah. And they don't really want solution. They don't want to work things out. They just want to be mad and angry. And so you just got to recognize, like, okay, we're not spending time on this because it's going nowhere, but we're going to go over here. Also, I think what we have learned in Paradise is that the world is watching us as we rebuild. And I'll never forget, we were in the CMA church. Urban Design Associates, UDA, was that outside consultant that Sierra Nevada, or it was the North Valley Community Foundation, through one of those donors.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers even, paid for that. And they had all of us in there. And we're asking, what are the things that you love about Paradise the most? And what are the things that you want to change about Paradise? And we were already on a path to that because of, before the fire, community leaders were talking about it.
Right.
So we already knew what we were thinking, and they already knew what, there was all that talk about the blue zones too and everything that Paradise wanted to do. So we were trying to figure out how to do it. So now you've got this clean slate, funding that we never had before, and actually the opportunity to do it. But they were asking, what do you want? And the town leadership is like, we are going to be the example for the rest of the world on how to rebuild back.
Yeah.
Safer, greener, more welcoming, so that other communities that face this, we're going to write the playbook. And they have done such a good job at writing that playbook. And in some of the examples of like bringing insurance back to Paradise and building IBHS wildfire prepared home, safety, all of that are lessons now that Altadena, Lahaina, the Palisades are all using from us, which is so amazing. I'm so proud of our town for like taking those stances early and doing that. But also social media is where we are showing the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so my message to some community leaders is, let's not get all of the yucky, weird, personal stuff out there on social media for the world to see. Let's handle our business in the family,
right?
Not out there on social media,
sure.
Because leaders set the weather. Mm-hmm. What we say and project turns into the reality for our communities and our cultures of where we're at. Yeah. So my plea to community leaders is, let's share the good news of what's happening. Let's advertise our huge wins, and then let's take care of our family business. Mm-hmm. In the family, right? Of course, I'm sharing all of those like hardships and things that we're having to overcome in relationship with the people in Altadena and Palisades and Lahaina. Yeah. But we don't need to do that all over social media.
I love what you said. So you say leadership sets the weather. Mm-hmm. I love that. That resonates with me. Uh-huh. I was a leader in Paradise for a while there, living in Chico now because of the fire. But I like that idea of leadership sets the weather, especially after a tragedy like that. But I also know from being a leader that leadership can be lonely. Yeah. Leadership can be lonely. How have you seen that play out in your life? And how do you protect yourself from the loneliness that it just seems to come with the job description? Especially the higher you go in leadership, the more lonely people can become. Mm-hmm. But how does that play out in your life?
Oh my gosh. I love that I naturally just love people, which has worked out well for me because I always like to have a tribe around me. And I noticed how lonely leadership was when I was the principal at Achieve. And I had this team of 8 teachers who were incredible, and we were a team, but still I was the leader. It all was, landing on me. And I didn't like that. I need a team. I guess I'll have to build another school, right? And so in those early days of Achieve, I really was in the back of my head, I would like us to have an organization that actually has a leadership team and more brains here, working together to help make decisions. So I'm very grateful that it's worked out. I mean, we started with 9 staff at Achieve when we first opened, and we have 85 staff today. Wow. And the talent and the mindset and the experience that we have across the Achieve organization is unreal. Mm-hmm. The services that we can give to kids and the supports that we can give to teachers and the job opportunities that we've given to our classified staff, it's just so fun. Those first days of school when we get everybody back together, everybody knows Casey's the proud grandma, which how did I end up a grandma? But one of my staff was like, "Oh, you're the queen." I'm like, "Okay, I like that better. I'll be the queen." Looking at this beautiful staff of 85 people who are all going down the same path with the same mission and vision. But outside of that, I have some really tight, good circles of friends who are in the same situation that I am, who's the superintendent of charter schools, multiple schools, and very tight with Mary Cox, who runs Core Butte, Like we're on the phone to each other all the time. Friends who run charter schools across the state also, and then have stayed just really good friends with Kelly Gordon, who's now running Paradise High School.
Right.
And so that's been a really fun opportunity for us to connect as colleagues and peers running schools.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. And it's cool to see her rise up in leadership and take ownership. I mean, you went to Paradise High, I went to Paradise High. And yeah, it's fun to see somebody that I know actually in that role and kicking butt there.
And she loves it so much. And she's just done such good work there.
That's great. Well, let's talk about accomplishments, because obviously you're part of a lot of boards. You've done a lot of things in your life. If you could narrow it down to just 2 things that you are the most proud of, what would be the 2 things you're most proud of in your life?
Oh, I'm so proud of Achieve Charter School and where it's at. And it's interesting when you say, like, what are your greatest accomplishments? I would never say that Achieve is my accomplishment. It's the accomplishment of so many people who have loved our community the same way. But to have a school, in my heart, I always felt like we would have 2 elementary schools. I thought maybe it would be up in Magalia, which is a little higher up than Paradise. Never in my wildest dreams would I think it would be in Chico. I didn't think that Chico needed Achieve Charter Schools, got great charter schools. But being there and listening to our families from Chico are like, we're so happy you're here. You've changed our lives. Where have you been? Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you needed us. Of course you do. So that having those 2 schools and, there's things that would never have happened if it wouldn't have been for the fire. What Achieve has always done is been a school created for the community, by the community. Yeah. And being in a new community of Chico, us having to really like open up our ears and our eyes to look and listen and see who the community is in Chico and what they need is different from Paradise. Still our signature practices, our heart, our high expectations, our support, all stay the same across the 2 campuses. But having to be responsive to 2 different communities in different ways has just strengthened our whole organization for sure. Yeah. I'm just so, I'm grateful to the 4 churches in Chico that took in 6 charter schools after the fire. They gave us a place to land. But I'm also so grateful to the Holy Spirit inside. The voice of like, you're landing at Life Church and using Sunday school classrooms in the Life Church in the sanctuary, and it was chaos. Yes. But still, it was a blessing. I mean, I digress really quick. Jessica, your wife's 2nd grade classroom, those mornings, every Monday morning, her little tiny 2nd graders are in a assembly line rolling these big Costco full-size fold-up tables into the nursery and passing down these big chairs, and these little 2nd graders are sitting in these big chairs at this big table and just doing their work. And I walked in and one of them was like, Mrs. Taylor, can you take these signs down that say welcome toddlers and babies? And I'm like, I can't. This is their classroom. They're sharing their classroom with you, right? This in the corner is all the like playpens and all that kind of stuff. It was wild. Anyways, I can remember looking out at the ball field that they had at that church, 3 acres. It was a softball field. And I'm like, what are you guys doing with that? And they're like, I don't know. Maybe we'll build a preschool or something. I'm like, could I build a whole school out there? And they're like, sure. And then, of course, I'm thinking, no, this is easy. We'll just dump some portables down there and have a new school. It's not like that. But the world came out to help us. It basically did turn out like that. We built a school in 6 months, right, with a whole underground engineered wastewater system and all kinds of crazy stuff. But that was such a blessing. And to be able to keep that school, right, I thought we were going to rip it all up and go back to Paradise. And it was my staff, and your wife was one of them, who was like, we've finally settled and like are planting roots here and feel good. We don't want to pick it all up and move again. We just don't. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. Now what are we going to do? Yeah. Because this charter is Paradise's charter. It has to go back. Yeah. And Chico Unified was so sweet and caring and supportive, and let us charter through them, and then create Achieve Charter School of Chico, which is still wild to me, and let us go back and then reopen Achieve Charter School of Paradise, which was also crazy because that seemed like the new school, because the majority of all of our seasoned staff were at Achieve Charter School of Chico, which was really the new school, even though it seemed like it was the old school.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm forever grateful for the way that Achieve is working, and we're in escrow right now for a big piece of property in Paradise with the opportunity to build a K-12 there, that we would have never had that opportunity before. So, I mean, it's not that big of a thing in the world, across the world, but in my heart, it's just something I still can't believe that it's actually happening, and I get to be like the leader of the whole thing.
Right. I was just impressed because, we had just lost everything in the fire. And I know I can't even imagine being in your shoes, trying to scramble to figure out what are we going to do to keep all these families and serving them. And for you to just to have the visionary mindset of like, well, what's going on with these 3 acres back here behind your church? Well, why don't we turn this into a school? Like, that's impressive. And I would agree, like from the outside looking in, I mean, I'm affected by the fire, but to see how all that happened in a short, I mean, for you, it might've seemed like a long amount of time, but when I look back, I'm like, wow, that like transitioned really quick. Yeah. The church was super nice to let us like take over their campus during the week. But the school actually got put together. When I think back, that was really, really quick.
It was
how that all played out
fast. But it goes back to that like situation that seems dismal and hopeless, and looking up. Like, what's the very best thing that could happen right now? Us having a school in Chico, not in the burn zone, but staying in this community that's functioning normally. This is where my people need to be. So what can we do to stay here so that everything can just settle down and we can like come back to life and get out of the fire brain and all that stuff. And so I was thankful because I was watching other school leaders around me just crumbling, right? They were just like paralyzed and didn't know the way forward. And so that like what I had learned growing up in my heart of like, what do we got to do? Buckle up, buttercup. Here we go. I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, so when you hear the phrase, choose the better story, what comes to mind when you hear that phrase?
Oh, man. Well, I was telling you that I loved when you brought that out. And I can't remember, it was high school. It was a high school, junior high, and my kids were in your junior high. And I remember you talking about it. Now that you share that story of where it came from, I'm like, oh yes, I remember that. Right now in my life, Choose the Better Story is coming up as I walk alongside other school leaders and community leaders in Altadena and the Palisades as they feel kind of crippled and heartbroken over the loss. Sure. And when I'll be on a panel or do something and they'll say to me, if you have one nugget to give us, what would you say? And I always say, you got to look up. So that Lauren Daigle song, Where Are You Now When Darkness Seems to Win, when the world is crumbling, I hear you say, look up, child. And it's the same. I love the graphic of the phases of disaster done by the U.S. Department of Human Social Services or something like that. And it shows the entry point of a disaster, this big heroic phase where everybody's, we're going to come together and we're going to do it. And then it goes into this phase of disillusionment. Yeah. And when I share that with community leaders who are trying to rebuild a community or rebuild, it's like, you right now are in this phase of disillusionment. And they're like, oh yes, that's why this is so hard. Yeah. But I'm like, look at this. Look at this slow climb. It's up, it's down, it's all over the place. But ultimately, it's coming out here with this phase of new birth and growth that is higher than where you came in at. And that is actually post-traumatic growth. So let's lean into the post-traumatic growth and choose to look up and look for the opportunities that you've got. Don't just look down at this like circumstance, because it's really scary and horrible. I'll never forget, we were trying to get school open after our fire within 3 weeks. And the county office was telling us to tell all of our families that they didn't need to come back to Achieve, to our little school that was in, church classrooms, Sunday school classrooms, that they could just enroll in whatever schools that they wanted to, wherever they happened to land, and that they should probably do that, because we weren't going to be able to do a good job with a whole staff that was traumatized and in hallways. And I can remember coming home that day and telling my in-laws and my husband, like, they're going to take it away. It's gone. We've just lost the whole entire thing. And I could not get out of bed the next day, and I just thought it was all over. But then something inside of me was like, oh, heck no. I'm not letting this go, that I know was birthed to do such amazing things for people. And I know that our community needs to be in community, even if it's in a parking lot somewhere. Yep. And so I'm gonna choose this better story and see what we can do. Yeah,
I love that. I was in a seminar a couple weeks back, and the guy that was speaking had lost his home in the Southern California fire. And he said a couple weeks, he was, obviously when your life gets flipped upside down, it's dramatic and it's emotional, and you lose all sense of safety, all sense of community, all that stuff is wiped out overnight. And he said, as he was processing through this with his coach, said, hey, do you mind if I say something that could sound really insensitive? And he's like, yeah, sure, bring it on. And the coach said, I want you to just try these lenses on for a second. Is it possible that losing your home in the fire could be the best thing that has ever happened in your life? And, he's like, at first I wanted to punch the guy in the face.
No way.
But then he really thought about it. He's like, well, how can I rise up as a leader, as a father, as a husband, to lead my family? And when you're talking about this yourself, you're having conversations with others they're fresh into it. They just lost everything and they're trying to process it. And the way that you're helping them process through that, I respect that for sure. Cause we know we needed all the help we could get when we were there. I felt hopeless. Yeah. What am I supposed to do? Yeah. It's not like, oh, well, I'm just going to go stay at the in-laws' place. Well, they lost their homes too. I'm going to go stay at the brother-in-law. Well, they lost their homes. Everyone lost everything. And so we really were kind of on our own. And so well done for stepping into, because it can't be easy to step into. I know PG&E workers that go work other fire areas, and when they are there, it brings back what they saw in their own hometown. Yeah. And so it's not easy to step into that, but thank you for being willing to do that, because that's really a difference maker. Yeah,
I have to get in tune with my own feelings and regulations and stuff when I get back from visits like that, because the next day it'll be oh my gosh, I just feel like I got hit by a truck. And I'm like, why? Oh yeah, this is tough stuff, right? Being in the middle of it. Kudos to Steve Wright, who was the principal at that time, who just hopped on to Facebook Live and brought our community together and did those morning assemblies. There was just some really good things that we did that kept our community together, that I have had the opportunity to share with other people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did that, and then when the whole COVID thing happened, it's he's already done that.
Right back to it. I know. So that's why I tell school leaders, I'm like, all the stuff you did in COVID, you're going to want to do that same stuff now. It was reversed for them. And it's the only thing that I can tell them when they're like, how hard is this going to be? I'm like, this is the hardest thing you will ever do in your whole life, to be the leader, right, where you yourself are also have so much loss, and you have to set the weather. You have to create a vision of hope and optimism, and your people need to see that you believe that you guys are going to be okay. Right. And then you also need to make sure that you have your tribe of leaders in the background where you can say, oh, no, we're actually going to do this or not. Right? There's
truth
that.
Be told,
and then there's this. It's tricky, but the opportunities are so incredible, and I can see it right now in Altadena too, the way that they're rebuilding, and they're using this situation as an opportunity to build back stronger and better and greener and more welcoming. You look at Paradise, the diversity we have in Paradise right now is I would never believed you if you
Right.
had told me that I needed to hire bilingual staff on my Paradise campus. No way. It's so beautiful. And it's not just the Hispanic population too. It is so many from all over the world. And so our worldview in Paradise is widening up in a way that we never had before.
Sure.
It's lovely.
Yeah. And I mean, in my role, we're just working in the solar industry.
Oh, yeah.
I have appointments up there in Paradise all the time of people that are moving from out of the area into Paradise.
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued, like what would compel you to move into an area that was like literally burnt to the ground? But I would agree. Yeah, it's wonderful. And the people moving into town are great. It's been super, super fun to get to know them on a practical level and help them in practical ways.
It's a story of people that we grew up with, right, who are just like heartbroken still about the way that Paradise doesn't look the same and isn't the same. And part of me says, like, thank goodness, because there were some things that were not good in Paradise, right, that needed to be fixed.
Right.
But then also you've got families from the Bay Area and Sacramento who can work remotely, who are driving up to Paradise, and it's like you got a third of an acre in a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $400,000.
And they love it. Yes.
The water's delicious. The air smells good. There's mountain views, valley views, the whole thing. It's like a dream come true.
Sure.
So yes, the perspective is very different across the state. And now, we have more people living in Paradise who were not there before the fire than who were.
Right.
So, so our level of trauma is getting thinned out a little bit, right? It's not so concentrated.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Casey, thanks for taking your time to be here today. I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you wouldn't mind just bringing the listening audience any type of value that you think would be valuable to them. I know in our conversations, you've mentioned something about look up and then the power of saying yes, maybe dig deeper into that a little bit and just provide us some value before we head out.
I was a shy, scared girl growing up who would never say yes to something. I ended up on the cheerleading squad by saying yes, which was like a way outside for me, and so glad that I did that. But that was the only thing that I ever did that was stepping out of my comfort zone. And I guess just after the fire, there's just been these opportunities where people have asked me to do something, and I felt more like compelled, like it was my part to do it. Like Charles Brooks asked me to sit on the founding board for the Rebuild Paradise Foundation, which ended up putting me with After the Fire USA, which ended up putting me in Lahaina and down in Altadena and creating these relationships with other people. And the executive director of the California Charter Schools Association asked me to sit on the member council that we have for the Charter Schools Association. And I was so scared, and I was just said yes. And then I became the chair. And then attorneys for charter schools asked me to tell the story of Achieve so that they could know what to expect if they were helping their clients go through the disaster. And that led to me being the keynote speaker at the International Emergencies Managers Convention, right? And so just these little steps of you being in a place, I wish I would have learned that when I was younger, actually. Say yes to opportunities that are going to get you in the room or in a different place than you would naturally normally be just in your everyday.
Sure.
Because it just opens up so many opportunities and really actually gives you the opportunity to invest in other people besides just who's in your little corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also when you say yes to things that are beyond your comfort zone, you end up growing as a result. It's a natural byproduct of just saying yes to stuff that's just a little bit beyond your comfort zone, just a little bit uncomfortable is when we tend to grow the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty awesome. Well, I want to thank you for spending your time. I know you're super, super busy. Hopefully you all got a ton of value here. Before we leave, I want to give you some personal encouragement because you have impacted my family in a practical way. I mean, both of my kids went through Achieve Charter School, and they're great. Just thank you for loving them as they transitioned there. My wife started to sub at Achieve many, many years ago, and I believe it was you that you saw her ability. And you're like, well, would you consider just doing a short-term teaching thing? And then all of a sudden it turned into full-time. And I just love, Jessica's so good at what she does. And she comes home and tells me stories all the time. Yesterday, she's just so creative. And so thank you for seeing and believing in her. But you've literally changed our family's life and given my wife a sense of purpose and direction. especially during really crazy times. But I mean, I hear all the time of the stuff that she's doing in class that just allows her to be creative and love kids really well. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for like stepping up in the midst of disaster and wanting to be like a front runner that helps the town rebuild and rebuild in a healthy way. And so, you know, you're in the trenches, so to speak, and a lot of people don't understand who's actually in the trenches all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's lonely in the trenches. So I want to say thank you for your willingness to like step in the trenches, do the dirty work, do the difficult thing for the betterment of other people. And that's why I would consider you like a local superhero. When that hits your ears, like a local superhero, I know your natural inclination is to say no, but I just want to say the role that you played in my life and my family's life, you have been that. And I think others would echo the same thing. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're going to continue doing. And I wish you nothing but success in the future.
Oh, that means so much to me. Thank you, because you likewise have poured into my own kids. I mean, I always say it like takes a village. Thank God for the Wrights who helped out little Trenton Taylor. You put him on the right path. Thank God for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to reconvene next week. Until then, don't forget to wear your cape because you are the hero of your own story.
A better life, better vision, what you wanted. Let's make it happen. Time to choose the better story. Come on. Choose the better story. Hey, choose the better story. Yeah.